When it was totaled, it was parked.
Yes, ma'am. And I had no idea what happened.
The guy in the blue BMW was like hitting me while I was merging, and then he goes into her parked car.
By the grace of God, that man wasn't killed.
This is Judy Justice. Bonnie Bailey is suing driver Stephen Chicos for vehicle damage after her car was hit during an accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3014, Bailey versus Chicos.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Bailey, your car was totaled on what day?
On April the 4th?
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
When it was totaled, it was parked.
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately what time?
I believe my braces appointment is like around 9:40.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And when had you parked the car?
For my braces tightening, I was at the dentist.
Oh, you were at the dentist?
At the orthodontist, and I was getting my braces tightened. So I had just parked the car at the first meter that I seen available. And as I was getting they was taking the wires out, they called me and said, "Hey, what kind of car do you drive?" I said, "An Audi." They said,
Okay, you came outside, and what did you see?
Big commotion. I seen a few cars were hit. I seen some people in my car. Someone had to catch me. I was kind of startled. I was like, how did this happen? I ended up seeing police coming towards me. They were like kind of already, I don't know if they were on the scene or they had just arrived when I got out there, and they were asking me questions of what happened. I had no idea what happened.
So you said I had no idea what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a police report?
They told me anything that involves a hit and run, anything that involves any type of collision is required of the parties.
The answer is you don't have a police report.
No.
Do you?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what happened?
No, ma'am.
From the time of the incident?
No, ma'am.
The defendant's car was involved in this accident.
Correct.
Because it had to be an accident, it wasn't an on purpose. And that's why you're suing him.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't have collision on your car, it was all paid off?
It was all paid off, correct.
So I assume you kept your insurance down by not having collision?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. And now nobody wants to take responsibility, and you've got a parked car that's now totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were involved in this accident, Mr. Chicos?
Chicos, yes.
Okay. Where were you going?
Going to drop my girlfriend back off at home before I left for work.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Mazda 3.
Tell me what happened.
I looked over my right shoulder. I was getting ready to make a merge into the right-hand lane.
Okay, so you're traveling in the left lane.
Yes.
And so you were originally traveling in the faster lane on the left. For how long had you been traveling in the faster lane to the left?
Maybe half a mile, quarter mile.
And then you were merging over to make a right turn?
No, just merging over to get in the right-hand lane.
What were you moving over to get into the right-hand lane for?
Because when it gets to Beverly and Alvarado, a lot of cars are waiting to make a left-hand turn, which is about maybe a quarter mile from where the accident happened. So just a preparation I got over so I wouldn't be stuck behind those cars in the light.
Okay, so you make this run all the time?
Correct.
I assume. Okay, so you're traveling along, you're not making a right turn, but you want to get into the right lane to avoid further up where people get into a left lane.
There's no left lane.
Where the people are making a left turn and there's usually a backup, so you wanted to avoid that and get over.
Correct.
Had the traffic started to slow down already?
No, not yet.
Okay, so you put on your blinker.
Correct.
And then what happened?
I looked over my right-hand shoulder. Behind me, to the right, way back, was a white car. And the blue, I think it was a BMW, the blue BMW was behind me in the fast lane.
Was behind you in the fast lane?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I looked over my right-hand shoulder, turned on my blinker, proceeded to merge lane. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I look forward again because there's no one next to me. So I'm looking forward, and out of nowhere, the guy in the speed passed me to pass me up, where it involves like hitting me while I was merging, and then he goes into her parked car.
So the BMW hit her car?
Correct. My car never made contact with hers.
Well, whether you made contact or not, that doesn't mean you're necessarily not at fault, which is, I assume, why I have this screen up here. So let me reiterate what I think your position is. You were dropping off girlfriend, and you're in the left lane, wanting to go into the right lane to avoid something that may come up in the future, since you were familiar with this road. You put on your blinker. All you see in your rear view mirror, looking to your right, is a white car, and you have plenty of time in order to merge over.
Correct.
So you start to go over, and a blue BMW that's behind you moves over faster to that lane, to merge over faster into that lane, hits you, The BMW hits her car, not your car.
Correct.
That's your position. Is that what I'm going to see on the video?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Their BMW driver is lucky he wasn't arrested for vehicular homicide. That was just by the grace of God that that man in the little blue, it looks like a Volkswagen, wasn't killed.
And later today,
Your daughter was tragically killed in an automobile accident. She had 3 children. Her 3 children are now with you.
Correct.
Did they come to live with you immediately after her death?
Bonnie Bailey claims driver Stephen Chicos caused a car accident and owes for damage done to her vehicle.
He's right, it's the BMW's fault.
I talked to the BMW's insurance, and they said they weren't paying out because they said they weren't at fault for the accident and to go after.
Well, I'm telling you, you bring me the BMW, I'll give you your money. That's what it looks like to me. The BMW was clearly behind him. His car had already started to merge over and was halfway into the right lane when the BMW, watch it, see his car's moving over them. The BMW came from behind him. Let's do it again. Absolutely right. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see how he could have avoided this accident. Take a look at it very, very closely. Let's do it one more time. He starts to move over. He's over already. The BMW cut off the white car. Is that what you see, Sarah?
I'm just thinking that that person in the little blue car is the luckiest guy alive.
Right.
You see him standing outside his car?
No, I didn't.
You see him
Oh,
opening the
that
door?
one.
That
The look-
man
oh, yeah.
almost gets absolutely obliterated
Oh,
by
my
that
God.
car.
You know, I didn't see
Sorry,
that.
little distraction, but that's what I was watching.
Just traveling much, much too fast. The blue BMW. Reckless. He almost got killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you will return with that BMW owner, but I have no objection to signing a document that you might want to show the BMW's insurance carrier. Did you also try to sue the BMW?
I didn't try to sue. I was going through my insurance, and they told me to contact his insurance. I called them, and I told them I had another witness, too. And like, we weren't aware there was another witness. We knew that there was a video, and that was the last I heard of them. And then next thing I heard was she was taking me to court.
Why did you choose him instead of the BMW?
Well, I went after both of them. I looked at the video multiple times, and it just looked like he was more so at fault. But I did go after the BMWs. And one, he had limited insurance, and it wouldn't cover the damages as to how much my vehicle had. And second of all, they told me that they seen that Stephen Psychos was at fault, and I had to go after him.
No. Their BMW driver is lucky he wasn't arrested for vehicular homicide. That was just by the grace of God that that man in the little blue, it looks like a Volkswagen, wasn't killed. So you bring me the right person, I'm more than happy to give you a judgment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. This case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I've been watching her since I was a little kid, so I knew she was going to come out with the right decision.
Guess I gotta go after the right person, right?
It just came out of nowhere, the crash. I didn't even see him coming.
I see it as that both of their butts are at fault.
Let me go after that driver.
I guess I'll really try to go after the BMW's insurance much harder or take him to court.
If I were this plaintiff, I would have sued both of them. I don't know which one of you is at fault, so I'm going to sue both of you. I know one thing. My car was parked, and I was getting my braces fixed. So it wasn't me. There was no question that that BMW was speeding, driving recklessly. There was no way that the defendant could have avoided this mishap because he was just speeding so recklessly.
I think you gave her a good lesson. She seemed like the type that would take that advice in her best interest to
come back.
Come back.
And I would love to see him
Me too.
speeding down a street where he almost killed somebody.
We'll give him a good lesson.
Yes.
Case number 3013, Toole versus Messenger. All parties, please step forward.
Cheryl Toole is suing her former daughter-in-law, Ariel Messenger, for benefit money raised for her grandchildren.
Ms. Toole, this is your former daughter-in-law.
They were never married.
Okay. They were together for how long? Because you identify her in your complaint as my ex-daughter-in-law. And how long has Miss Messenger been separated from your son?
Probably 5, 6 years.
And in December of last year, you have a daughter. Your daughter was tragically killed in an automobile accident. She had 3 children. Her 3 children are now with you.
Correct.
Did they come to live with you immediately after her death? According to your complaint, the defendant was touched by this tragedy. You don't say that, but that's what it appears, and decided to hold a fundraiser for the 3 children. What kind of fundraiser did you decide to hold for the 3 children?
I did a spaghetti dinner
Where?
at a bar that I work at.
Did the bar donate any base?
Right, my boss allowed me to have it.
And tell me how it worked. People came for a spaghetti dinner. Dinner was so much, and anything over that dinner went to the fund for the children?
Correct. All of it went to the fund. They would come in if they wanted to purchase a meal. They would get a ticket. Then they would go and grab the meal. And we had bake sale, also had raffles and stuff like that.
So there was an entrance fee to get in?
Basically, yes.
Not basically. Was there an entrance fee to get in?
There was not. You paid for a spaghetti dinner.
And how much was that?
It was $15. You got a to-go box.
Who provided the dinner is what I'm trying to...
I had people donate the food.
And that was the only fundraiser you had?
Correct.
This is what the case is about. Case is about fact that, put your hand down, that she says $1,800 was raised at that dinner. You don't seem to deny that $1,800 was raised for the benefit of the children. The plaintiff has custody of the children. She says you should turn that money over to her. And your position is that I'm waiting for Social Security numbers for the children so that I can open up accounts for the children.
Correct.
Okay, that's your position.
Correct.
Okay. How much planning did you have to do for this dinner?
We served it.
Who set it up?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so did you have any conversation with the defendant prior to the event, which I assume you attended?
Yes, I did attend it.
For the whole thing?
I had to leave at 9 because I had to take the children out of the bar.
Okay. What time did it start?
7 or 8.
So you were there for an hour?
No, we were there. We had went and got where we were serving it set up too.
Oh, okay. So you were there until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
During that time or before that time, did you ever have a conversation with Miss Messenger about what would happen to the funds that were collected?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Well, then can you explain your position to me as to why you think she has to give you that money? She ran the benefit for the benefit of the children, and what she's supposed to do is open up accounts for the benefit of the children. Did you go to the bank and say to the bank, I want to open up accounts for the benefit of the children?
Cheryl Toole claims her former daughter-in-law, Ariel Messenger, is wrongfully keeping money raised for her grandchildren.
Can you explain your position to me as to why you think...
Okay, first of all, the benefit, I had no idea until the day before the benefit. She did not ask me.
No, just a second.
Did not include me.
She doesn't have to.
Okay, but...
Okay, she doesn't have to ask you. She doesn't have to include you. It would be nice, but she doesn't have to ask you. She doesn't have to include you, okay? And what was the date of this event, by the way?
The 9th.
The 9th of?
December.
And when was the accident with your daughter?
December 3rd.
So it was relatively quickly after that.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to get back to why you think that you have a position, a legal position, where she has to turn that money over to you.
Okay, I have interim custody of the children. There's expenses. My daughter's apartment had to be emptied. I had to put her stuff in storage. I'm not physically able to be moving their belongings into our house that we just got for the 3 children and myself. I not only had to empty the apartment, get it in storage.
So what you're telling me is that you had expenses.
Yes, I have.
That's not a reason that she's got to give you money she raised for the benefit of the children.
But the benefit stated, there was a flyer put out for Brandy Hoteling to help her lay at rest and her 3 children. It never said it happened and the kids come with me. I opened accounts for the kids. I went to my credit union to see if I could open accounts.
That's a good idea.
If I could open accounts that they couldn't touch, nobody could till they were 18. I couldn't because of them being minors. They had to go under my name, but they're in their own accounts. I have that on my phone that I can show you.
It's nice that you have accounts for them.
But I feel that if you're going to do a benefit, that's wonderful that you would do something like that. But do what you say you're going to do in the benefit.
That's what she says she wants to do. She said she needs the children's social security number so that she can open up an account. You can have accounts under Uniform Gift to Minors Act in every bank, in every financial institution that are in your name for the benefit of a child, which is what you can do. I know I have 13 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild, and I have accounts for all of them, okay? But I have a brother, and if my brother said, I want to open up accounts for your grandchildren, and I said to him, well, give me the money because I have the accounts already. He said, no, I want to be in charge of those accounts. It's what I want. I got the money, but I can open up the accounts for the benefit of the children just as well as you can. Just because you have expenses, Ms. Toole, that's not what this benefit was for. In her mind, she ran the benefit, and you said you had nothing to do with it. She ran the benefit for the benefit of the children, and what she's supposed to do is open up accounts for the benefit of the children. Did you go to the bank and say to the bank, I want to open up accounts for the benefit of the children? And did the bank advise you that you needed any particular document?
Yes. That
What
I needed
document
some form of social security numbers because, again, I wanted to be the primary person to where she couldn't have access to it.
Okay. Where do you come from? What jurisdiction?
Toledo, Ohio.
And how did you get here today? By plane?
On a plane, yes.
And there was certain expenses and fees that you would be receiving for traveling to do your case here.
Correct.
We're going to hold those fees. And I see that I'm not going to get any cooperation from Ms. Toole, even though I've told her that she can give you the kid's social security number so that you can open up these accounts for the benefit of the children. That's her prerogative. But you can go to the bank and get savings bonds for the children, and you don't need their social security number.
Okay.
All you need are bonds in their social security number. That money would be growing interest. So at a certain point, they'll be able to cash in these bonds and have a little spending money when they either go away to college or start a job or are looking for an apartment or something. I assume that you get some sort of benefit for the children.
No, I do not yet.
Okay. Was their mother a working person?
Yes, she was.
Well, if she's a working person, and then the children are entitled to Social Security benefits. Was she a working person all of her life?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, if she was a working person all of her life, she was entitled to Social Security. And if a person who was entitled to Social Security dies, minor children are entitled to Social Security. Did anybody tell you that?
They did tell me that, but
Okay,
it's
so
in
why
the
didn't-
works of custody. They couldn't do it until that was established.
Well, no, they could do it.
That's what I was told.
Well,
and I went down there.
who are you arguing with over custody?
Nobody. The fathers want them to stay together because they've been through enough tragedy. And so I'm not arguing with them.
Are the fathers contributing to their support?
The one said he has been, but it's just sitting there. He said, do you know what's going on? I said, everything's at a standstill till June 7th.
Oh, so it's going to be resolved relatively quickly?
Yes.
Okay, good. She could put it in an account that may bear some interest for them. If she does bonds, they have to wait until they're 21 years old. It's a relatively short period of time.
I can do bonds. That's fine.
You
I wasn't
can.
aware of-
I don't know if they're long enough.
Right.
What's your objection to giving her their Social Security number?
Because, for one thing, she's not financially stable. She has ran bills up on a family member.
Okay. So you would prefer that she buy a bond?
Yeah.
A 7-year bond?
But also, what about the help with the daughter? I mean, it's right there on the flyer.
You mean for your daughter who's deceased?
Yes.
She can't help her, Mrs. Tooley. She can't help her.
So that was false on the
No, she
flyer?
can't help. She can't help her.
Right.
She can't help her.
Right.
And so her and the children. And if you're not going to allow her to have their Social Security number so she can put it in an account, she is going to buy U.S. bonds for the children in the children's names, and my clerk in the back will hold everything until we receive proof that those bonds have been purchased in the children's names. Hold on to them until the children are 18, and then you can give it to them.
Okay.
Because you can't cash them in anyway.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
This case is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is
It's awesome that somebody would want to take that opportunity to do that to help somebody.
I'm happy. They'll have their bonds and everything will be taken care of.
But when they don't use the fundraiser for what it said, I feel they're cheating the people that did it.
You are an umpire.
Yes, ma'am.
He said, you guys were cheating. That's when I got upset.
He just grabbed me like this, and his fist was coming at me.
You can put your hands on him.
But I did not throw a punch around him.
Well, then how did he get assaulted?
This is Judy Justice. Kelvin Green is suing youth baseball coach Francisco Borges for lost wages and damages from an assault.
court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3012, Green versus Baguez.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so today we're going to learn a little bit about junior baseball.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know a lot about it, but I do have one grandchild who plays that sport very well. Been to a couple of those games. I know how hot everybody gets. You, Mr. Green, according to what I read in your papers, are an umpire.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been doing that work for, I think, 15 years. Is that what?
Approximately 15 years.
Tell me about the league that you umpire for.
I work for an organization, and I'm pretty much an independent person, but they call me and let me know what games I have, so it's up to me, so I can take as many games as I want. I usually average about 10 games on the weekend. I usually only do it on the weekend. It's kind of...
Do you get paid for it?
Yeah.
Umpiring a game.
It depends on the age division. So normally, if you do anywhere from 9 to 12, you'll get
9 to 12 years are the players.
That's the player. That's the player that's playing. So you'll get $56, and if you do the older children, that goes from 13 up to, I think we do up to 17. You get $61 a game.
Okay, nice supplemental income, and have some fun when you're outside.
Yeah, that's my supplemental income.
Yeah.
I actually have a regular full-time job.
I assume you did.
Yeah.
And you have a team?
Correct. I manage the team. I've been managing high school baseball players for about 6 years now.
So you manage the 13 to 17-year-olds?
Correct.
And what's the name of your team?
The Bruins?
This particular game that's at issue today took place on what date, sir?
October the 16th of last year.
Now, Mr. Borges, on October 16th of 2022, what I'm gathering from the papers is that one or so of your players was over the age of 17.
Correct.
That you knew was against the rules. How many players were over 17?
So there was a total of 2 players that were over.
2.
So they weren't over 17. They were 17 at the time.
They were beyond the age where they were supposed to be
Correct.
playing. So you knew that that was against the rules.
Correct.
Just curious, clear that you knew it.
Stipulation that it goes on the way that the sanctioning body goes by. If they're in the grade level that is of the current year, they can still play. There is a limit of 1 player. I had 2. That is why we were.
Okay. So what you're saying is you didn't know about the second rule?
I knew about the second rule. I misinterpreted it. I thought we were allowed up to 3 players. Turns out that for this particular sanctioning body, there was only 1 allowed.
At some point during that game, something happened, because this case involves an assault. It is your claim, Mr. Green, that the defendant assaulted you and injured you.
Yeah.
And it was about the players who were playing against the rules from his team.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start with you, sir. You're on the field, you're doing your business. Somebody advises you that there's an issue. Who tells you that there's an issue?
So I went up to the director and asked him myself. There was some chatter in the stands saying, hey, you have 2 players.
Some chatter where?
From the stands. So some of my
from
parents,
the stands?
Yeah, from the stands. So some of my parents asked me, hey, you might want to check that because the other team is saying that we're illegal players.
So there was already a kerfuffle because
Correct.
people who were watching the game, I assume that there were regulars watching this game. First of all, you have all the mothers, fathers, grandparents, siblings of all these players. I know this from grandson Kobe, they come out for every game. And so I assume that everybody knows how old these players are because they've been following them. They all go to the same school. Okay. So there was chatter from the team that was opposing your Bruins that, hey, 2 of these players shouldn't be playing.
Correct.
They're too old. It's not fair. Had the game gotten underway yet?
It was in the bottom of the first, or the start of the first inning.
Okay, so you heard the kerfuffle that was starting in the stands. You figured the better part of valor was to go over and address the issue yourself with the director of the league?
Of the tournament director, correct.
Okay. How did you identify him there?
He's the one we check into at the beginning. When we show up as a team, there's a booth where we check in.
So you went down to speak to the director.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear any of this chatter?
Your Honor, the story that he's telling you is absolutely not true. How we found out, or they found out that the player was too old. The player actually played for the opposing team before, and the coach knew him. And I was standing there when the coach passed by him and spoke to him. And then the coach informed one of his parents that that kid that was the catcher was too old to be on the team. And they went and told the tournament director. He didn't go to the tournament director. He was on the field.
Okay, just a second. So your story, which actually isn't to it, so sounds more real. This older player used to play for the opposing team.
Yes, ma'am.
So the team members and that coach knew how old he was.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
They went over to the director to complain.
Went over to the director and told the director that he was using illegal players, that the players was too old. Then they checked the record to find out if it was true. They never went to the director. The director came on the field and stopped the game. He came to me and said, stop the game.
Okay, so the director came up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And said, stop the game.
Stop the game.
And you're standing at home plate?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
See that?
You got that. You're right. I was standing at home.
Why do you look so amazed?
Because I was surprised that you would know about
that. I would know about home plate?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's home plate. I was standing at home plate.
They're not talking football here. Baseball, I know.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, okay.
So everybody sort of was around you. You had the director, you had yourself. Were any of the players there?
Yes, ma'am. They were still on the field. Everybody was still on the field.
Any players up at home plate?
Yeah, the player, the catcher, the one that was too old, and the batter. So he waited until the game started, because if he says anything before the game starts, then they would just take the players out. So he was waiting for the players to play. So they
would have to forfeit the game. That they would have to forfeiting the rules, because these rules I didn't know. So if the game hadn't started yet, and that one player was taken out before anything happened, then you would just take the player out and continue the game.
And continue.
But once the game starts with his illegal player, then their team had to forfeit the game.
Exactly. The other team.
So the other team, strategically, I assume, but the other team waited until the first ball was thrown or whatever, and then came out to complain or went to the director to complain that there was an illegal player.
Exactly.
And therefore the game had to be forfeited.
Exactly. So they lost the game.
Now it's got. So they lost the game before it started.
Right. They lost the game before it ended. So it was on a Sunday, and Sunday we call it elimination day. So if you lose on Sunday, you go home, and the other team that won go on to the next game. So obviously he didn't go to the next game because he was eliminated, but the other team did. So that's why the other team waited so they can go to the next game.
Now, Mr. Borges, I have to tell you, that sounds more reasonable to me.
And he's absolutely right.
Okay, good.
Other than the fact that I did go up to the tournament director myself, because at that point in time, they approved my roster, and I had an approved roster. So when I called the higher up of the tournament director, he said, if you guys leave the field, if you forfeit the game, I will refund you the tournament fee. You get a refund. So I talked to my parents, I talked to my players, I explained to them the situation, and that was it. And we walked off the field.
Well, that didn't happen just that way.
That's exactly how it happened.
Well, then how did he get assaulted?
He just had this look in his eye and he just grabbed me like this, and his fist was coming at me. And that's pretty much all I remember, because I could remember another fist coming over my shoulder, which I later found out that it was my son coming to my defense, because he just grabbed me.
Calvin Green claims youth baseball coach Francisco Borges owes for lost wages and damages after Francisco assaulted him.
Now, his version of the events sounds much more plausible to me now that I know that you crafted your participation initially in a certain way, but that sounds right. Now I understand it. Okay, so now they're all out on the field.
So no, what happened next is that they actually left the field. He didn't say anything about the game, so they left.
So they left the field, and his team left.
And all of his players left the field. So what I did is I returned to what we call it the director's table, but it's like an easy up setup. So I returned to the director's table where all the umpires usually hang. We kind of go there and get our new scorecard, our new baseball, and everything that we need for our next game. So I was standing there just kind of talking with other umpires. My son Cam was there. He's an umpire also. And on his way out of the particular facility that we were in, the director's table is right there. Him and some of his parents, that's when they stopped by the director's table to ask the director about why they were disqualified, because they were saying that they knew that they were using illegal players. The director was saying, no, we didn't, because you never checked in with your roster. And so they started demanding a refund. And so we wasn't even involved in it. So they started demanding a refund. And so one of the moms.
How much money are we talking about? Just
I have no idea. You have to ask them.
How much money is the refund?
It's $8 per person. That's the refund that my parents were requesting. We weren't requesting a tournament fee because we had already squared that away with the tournament director.
You expected an $8 per person refund. Why?
Because the game didn't conclude, and we were the ones that stopped the game prior to this whole scenario.
Well, not actually. You didn't stop the game. Whatever. Aside from the $8 per person, what other fee is there?
There's a tournament fee.
Well, give me the amount.
It was $895.
Go ahead, sir.
He was asking for his money back. He didn't get a refund back because he was disqualified for the tournament. He got upset and said, well, I'll show you disqualified. I'll show you disqualified. And then he was coming around the table in an angry manner. So all I did was step back and said, Coach, calm down. Your children are out here. Why you act like this in front of your children? He didn't say a word. He just had this look in his eye and he just grabbed me like this, and his fist was coming at me. And that's pretty much all I remember, because I could remember another fist coming over my shoulder, which I later found out that it was my son coming to my defense, because he just grabbed me. I mean, that's all I could say. He just pretty much grabbed me like this. And
could you stand up? Tell me your name, please.
Cameron Green.
Cameron, you were down with your father near the director's table.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you saw. Your father took me up to a point, and I want you to start at the point where there was any contact between your father and the defendant.
Yes, as the defendant was charging after the tournament director, after verbally threatening him.
Was that person seated?
He was seated.
Yes, go ahead.
And as he got around a barricade of tables, me and my dad were there to stop him and calm him down.
Tell me exactly how you...
Literally just standing here. Obviously, you don't want to make contact with the person unneeded. So like literally just standing there, he had his hands up and said, hey, your kids are out here. And he just got like the midst of the deflection, because he was going to probably assault the tournament director, and said he assaulted my dad instead.
Well, tell me how he did that.
So after my dad told him to calm down because the kids were out there, he then grabbed my dad by his chest protector. That then I had to defend my dad.
Well, how did you do that?
By punching him.
How did your father end up unconscious?
So once again, he had him, and so he would grab my dad by his chest protector and shoves his fist in his face to basically threaten him. So I assume after I hit him, he probably just threw him down.
So he threw your father down?
Correct.
Were you hospitalized, sir?
I went to the doctor the next day. We went home after it all happened, and then the next day I woke up, I had all these like really bad pains in my face and stuff. So I went to the doctor, and the next day I went to urgent care on the 17th.
Do you have any pictures of
any
injuries?
Yes, I have the pictures and also the doctor's report.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
There's pictures of my injuries in the original doctor report when I first went to the doctor.
Pretty bad black eye area. Is that what you're showing? Did you file a police report, sir?
The facility, the director, they filed a police report.
Do you have a copy of that?
On the 18th.
Do you have a copy of that? Were you able to get a copy of the police report?
No, they gave it back to me.
Nothing. Okay. Was there a complaint filed by you with the police department, sir?
Yes, there was a complaint filed by me with the Riverside County Sheriff.
Were you ever contacted by the police?
I was.
Were you arrested?
No.
Did Mr. Green cause to be served on you, and there a hearing on that?
Yes, there was.
Did you testify?
Yes.
Did you have any witnesses?
No, I just had witness statements and the picture that I showed you.
Did you have any witnesses?
No.
What was the result of that hearing?
I was granted a restraining order for a year.
And was the story that you told to the court at that hearing consistent with what you've told me today?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. I actually have the transcript from that court case.
I'd like to take a look at it. I'm going to ask you the same question, Mr. Borges. Was the testimony you gave me today consistent with what you told the court on that day?
Absolutely.
You did, in fact, put your hands on the plaintiff.
Correct.
I'm actually going to go in a little bit further. How many parents were with you at the time you came to the director's chair?
There was a few. There was about five or six there. They were standing next to me.
Did you see the parents of Mr. Borges' team with him?
Yes.
How many were there?
At least 5 or 6 parents, and they all had their kids with them as well.
Now, when Mr. Borges, when you said came around the table and put his hands on your father, where were the parents?
They're behind him, and due to the progressive heating of the argument, everybody on his side was being very aggressive. That's why when he charged after the tournament director, no one cared to stand, jumped by about 5 of the parents.
Okay, so he was the first one who went around the table.
Correct.
The parents and the other players followed after him?
They were aggressive, but they stayed put, and after I had defended him, then that's when they got involved.
Now, when you say you defended your father, what did you do?
As he had my dad grabbed by his chest protector, I then punched him.
Punched the defendant?
Yes.
And after you punched the defendant, what happened?
I was then jumped by about 5 of the parents. So I saw 3 running at me and 1 running at me full speed. So I engaged with the first guy that was coming at me. And right there, I got tangled up, and then I was thrown to the floor immediately, and then jumped by about 5 parents.
Who broke it up?
Actually, a bystanding coach ran in about like 6 seconds into the jumping and picked me up off the ground and separated me from the crowd. I almost had it, though.
Then when I got up off the ground, I pulled one of the parents off of him. Because when I got up off the ground, I was...
Off of your son?
Off of my son. I was looking for my hearing aids and glasses, and then when I picked him up, I noticed 3 guys fighting my son. So I pulled the parent off of him, and then somebody else came around and punched me again. I couldn't see who that person was.
I got it. You got punched because you put your hands on his father, and you're a big guy. How old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you? Dare you put your hands on him?
Calvin Green has accused youth baseball coach Francisco Borges of assaulting him at a baseball tournament. Francisco claims Calvin's son punched him in the face.
So, Mr. Borges, I'm going to go one further from the judge who heard the application for an order of protection. It was a very limited hearing, and what the judge based his opinion on to give the plaintiff a protective order for a year, which merely says that you may not assault, menace, threaten, or harass him. Is he allowed to be at a game where you're umpiring? No, he's not allowed to have his team at a game where you're umpiring.
No, he's not allowed to be around. He's not allowed to be within 100 feet of me. We didn't put down the team because it was more about him and not the team.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, sir, that if your conduct precipitated a course of events where other people were injured, your conduct, you're responsible. I'm going to let you tell me your version of the events. You're out there. Now I heard their version of the events of that day. You're out there with 5 or 6 parents, and you're demanding that while you forfeited the game, it was your position that your players were entitled to their $8 a person back, which is why you went with the parents over to the director to ask for the $8 per person back for your players. That's what you told me.
No, that you asked me what the sum was. It was $8 a person of what it cost to get in. That's not what we were arguing about. So,
well, what were you arguing
about? My side of the story about? So as we were walking out, I was talking to the female tournament director. We had already got our situation squared away. There was a male tournament director who was sitting at his chair, and one of my parents approached him, and they were arguing back and forth. He made a comment, and he said, you guys shouldn't even get a refund back for your tournament fee because you guys were cheating. That's when I got upset because I had already squared away with his boss and the female tournament director that was on site. Okay.
So what did you do when you got upset?
I told him, do you even know what's going on? I've already explained that this whole situation has nothing to do with the team. She's asking for her $8 back because they just got here and they're not watching the game.
Oh, you mean their fee to get into the stadium?
Correct.
What were you involved with that for?
Exactly.
What were you involved with that for? They wanted their money back. How many games were going to be played that day?
It could have been, 3, 4, 5 games.
Well, they could have sat and watched the rest of the 5 games.
Yeah, they could have. My director. Mr. Green was coming over from the field, and he did see when we were arguing. He did get in front of me. He said, hey, man, relax. Your kid's around. My whole thing was the director was still talking back to me,
So what if he was talking back to you? The truth is he was saying the truth. That director was saying nothing that was untruthful. All this started because you put 2 illegal players on your team.
That they approved, Your Honor.
What?
They approved. The sanctioning body approved my roster before I showed up.
I have to tell you something, sir. You've been doing this according to you for a long time, and you know all the rules. And you had 2 illegal players on your team. That's what happened. But you had no business going over there and getting them a refund for entrance to the park.
That's where you're wrong. I was not asking for a refund. The parents were.
So what were you involved for?
Because the director told them they had to come talk to me about it, okay? And I go, listen, it's your job to de-escalate. As a director, it's your responsibility to de-escalate the situation.
So what? I don't understand why you put your hands on him.
I grabbed him by the chest protector to move him out of the way, because my argument was with the tournament director. Did not involve Mr. Green at all.
You can't put your hands on him.
So at that point in time, that's when I got punched, and then I was pulled back by the parents.
Just a second. You got punched because you put your hands on his father aggressively, and you're a big guy, and you were aggressive. He's old enough to be your father. How dare you put your hands on him? Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just want to say one other thing, Your Honor, that this is mainly about him and other parents that come out to youth sports and behave badly. I want to send a message to him and all the other parents out there. When you come to support your kid. We're human, we make mistakes. We're out there for the same reason they are. It's not about the money. We're out there because we love the game and we love the kid. Violence, there's no place in baseball for violence. And he has to know that, and all the other parents have to know that. When you come, you're supposed to be there to support your kid, not harass the umpires or get into it with the directors. If you know you cheated, take your lumps and go home. But to assault
couldn't have said it better myself.
It's like, yeah. And that's why that's the message.
And I won't say it better myself. He's right. Right?
Yep.
Did you lose any work, sir, as a result?
I missed a month of work and I missed a month of umpiring.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested in your petition, $10,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was a little unfair.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I never punched anybody, which that's the reason we were here.
The judge saw it right through the lie that he was trying to tell her.
Sanctioning body approved my roster, so that was on them.
From my understanding in this roster, so they didn't even know he had those players on his team.
I have no ill will against Mr. Green. Like I said, at the end of the day, I never punched him. I did touch his chest protector, but I never threw a punch.
Get the message out to the other parents that when you come to youth sporting events, you're not going to behave badly, and if you do, we're going to prosecute you.
Welcome back to Savage Justice, everyone. I need you to grab a drink, get incredibly comfortable, clear your mind of whatever distractions you have going on today, and truly brace yourselves, because we are about to embark on a massive, deeply uncomfortable, but absolutely essential hour-long journey into the darkest corners of modern courtroom psychology. Today we are meticulously unpacking an episode of Judy Justice that will not just make your blood boil, but will fundamentally challenge how you view the safety of our public school systems and the terrifying decay of modern parenting. What we just witnessed on our screens between these two families, the Johnsons and the Greers, is not something you can just casually brush off as a typical high school dramatic misunderstanding. We are looking at a terrifying, premeditated, and completely vicious physical ambush that took place at a school bus stop, caught entirely on high-definition video for the entire world to consume. I want you to truly visualize the raw, unfiltered reality of the Mulgotona, or the main event that brought these people before Judge Judy. We have a 15-year-old girl named Marley, who, after a minor, incredibly petty classroom disagreement that was supposedly resolved by an administrator, is simply trying to walk out to her school bus to go home. She is walking away. She is completely disengaged. And suddenly, without any warning, without any opportunity to put her hands up to defend herself, she is violently grabbed by her hair from behind and brutally sucker, punched by a 14-year-old named Justice. This wasn't a mutual fight. This was a predatory attack executed in the middle of a massive crowd of highly energized, screaming students who immediately pulled out their cell phones to record the violence instead of calling for an adult. But the absolute most infuriating, sickening part of this entire tragedy isn't just the fight itself, it is the breathtakingly arrogant, completely delusional reaction of the defendant's uncle and legal guardian, Devonte Greer, inside that courtroom. To stand in front of a respected, no-nonsense judge, watch a crystal clear video of your niece violently attacking a defenseless girl from behind, and then actively try to twist the narrative to make excuses for that behavior. To aggressively deflect the blame by complaining about the police officer who had to physically break up the fight, Instead of holding your own family member accountable, it is a staggering, apocalyptic failure of adult responsibility. Over the course of this massive, multi-part deep dive, we are going to dissect the deep, toxic psychology behind this specific case. We are going deeply into the weaponization of interpersonal control, the paralyzing, long-term effects of manufactured fear on a young victim, and the definitive legal and moral boundary lines that were violently crossed the second that first punch was thrown. This is not just a breakdown of a lawsuit, it is a critical look at human behavior. And I want you to analyze every single second of it with me. Let us immediately dive into the first, and arguably the most dangerous, psychological theme driving this entire infuriating schoolyard ambush: the absolute, malicious illusion of control. To truly understand why a 14-year-old girl named Justice would make the conscious, calculated decision to violently attack her classmate from behind, we have to critically analyze the fundamental concept of power dynamics within a high school ecosystem. Why does a coordinated ambush actually happen in a highly public place like a bus lane? You have to understand that an ambush, by its very definition and tactical execution, is never meant to be a fair fight. It is a calculated, premeditated execution of overwhelming, asymmetrical physical power designed specifically to completely break another human being's spirit and public reputation before they even have a single, fleeting chance to defend themselves. When Justice bypassed all the adults, ignored the school administrator's previous warnings, and chose to violently grab Marley's hair from behind while she was walking away, she wasn't just trying to inflict temporary physical pain. Bruises heal and cut scab over, but the psychological goal was far more sinister. She was actively trying to completely strip away Marley's autonomy, her personal dignity, and her fundamental sense of basic safety in the world. By consciously choosing to execute this attack in the middle of a massive crowd of their peers, at the designated school buses where hundreds of students congregate daily, the aggressor essentially hijacked the environment. She turned a mundane piece of everyday school infrastructure into a terrifying zone of pure, unpredictable violence. She was sending a very clear, deliberate, and deeply toxic psychological message: I control this space, I dictate your physical well-being. You are not safe here, and I have the power to humiliate you globally by making sure this gets recorded. This specific brand of bullying completely thrives on the illusion of total control and the forced, terrified silence of the victim. But this is exactly where the dynamic violently shifts inside the courtroom. And it is precisely why Judge Judy's reaction to the defendant's uncle is so utterly perfect and incredibly satisfying to watch. When Devontae Greer takes the podium and attempts to control the narrative by shouting about the police officer's actions or claiming the fight was mutual, Judge Judy refuses to yield even a single inch of control in her courtroom. She loudly, emphatically, and ruthlessly cuts him off, systematically dismantling his false bravado and completely destroying his pathetic, victim-blaming excuses. She exposes the raw, ugly truth that his niece was the sole, unprovoked aggressor. And by forcefully shutting down his attempts to manipulate the facts, she essentially takes back the control that was violently stolen from the victim at that bus stop. Judge Judy proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that outside the chaotic, lawless bubble of a middle school parking lot, violent actions have severe, undeniable, and permanent legal consequences, and no amount of loud, arrogant deflection from a delusional parent or guardian will ever change the objective truth caught on tape. As we strategically transition away from the absolute, calculated weaponization of control that we just discussed, we must dive headfirst into the deeply suffocating, entirely paralyzing element of manufactured fear that sits at the very dark heart of this specific case. I want you to truly, deeply put yourself in 15-year-old Marley's shoes at that exact, terrifying moment at the school bus stop. The school day is finally over. The stressful bells have rung, the chaotic hallways have emptied out, and you are simply walking toward the designated transportation area, a place that is fundamentally supposed to be a safe, highly monitored transition zone between the academic pressures of the school building and the ultimate sanctuary of your own home. You have your back turned. You are completely disengaged from any prior petty drama. And then, in a terrifying fraction of a millisecond, your entire world violently explodes. Without a single warning word, without any opportunity whatsoever to raise your hands to protect your face, you are violently yanked backwards by your hair, your neck snapping back, and you are brutally punched by someone who has decided that your physical safety is entirely irrelevant. The fear we are analyzing here is not just the intense, adrenaline-fueled shock of the immediate physical impact, although that is horrifying enough. It is the deep, lingering, psychological terror of realizing that you are completely vulnerable at all times, even when you are actively trying to walk away and de-escalate a situation. But the nightmare absolutely does not stop with the physical blows. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated horror of being physically beaten while surrounded by a massive crowd of your own peers, your classmates, people you have to look at every single day in the cafeteria. And instead of jumping in to save you, instead of screaming for a teacher or a police officer, they form a sickening circle, Pull out their high-definition smartphones and actively record your pain, your tears, and your ultimate physical humiliation for the entire internet to consume. The fear completely mutates at that point. It transforms from a temporary physical threat into a permanent, inescapable digital trauma. The fear is the nauseating, overwhelming anxiety that Marley is going to feel every single morning when her alarm clock goes off, knowing with terrifying certainty that she has to walk back into that exact same school building, walk past those exact same kids who stood by and filmed her suffering, and potentially face that exact same aggressor in the hallway. This is a manufactured, highly concentrated dose of long-term post-traumatic stress disorder inflicted upon a child for nothing more than fleeting social media clout. When Judge Judy looks at the medical bills and the police reports in her courtroom, she isn't just calculating the financial cost of a scraped knee or a pulled scalp. She is looking directly at the severe, invisible, long-lasting emotional damage that this unprovoked ambush has permanently etched into this young girl's developing psyche. A deeply rooted fear that could take years of intense psychological therapy to successfully overcome. This deeply paralyzing fear inevitably and violently brings us to the most infuriating, mind-boggling, and blood-boiling aspect of this entire television episode, which is the definitive, catastrophic crossing of both legal and moral boundary lines. And I am not just talking about the 14-year-old aggressor Justice crossing the line from a verbal argument into a physical felony assault. I am talking about the massive, unforgivable, generational failure of the adult in the room. I am talking about the defendant's uncle and legal guardian, Devonte Greer. There used to be a heavily respected time in our society where if a child committed a violent, unprovoked act of aggression against an innocent classmate, their parents or guardians would be deeply ashamed, profusely apologetic to the victim's family, and strictly focused on severe, immediate disciplinary action at home. But a massive, incredibly toxic social line is permanently crossed when a guardian stands in front of a globally televised court of law, watches undeniable video evidence of their own family member brutally attacking a defenseless girl from behind, and actively chooses to play the victim. Devonte Greer's behavior in that courtroom is the absolute textbook definition of delusional, toxic enabling. Instead of turning to his niece and demanding accountability, instead of looking at Marley and offering a sincere, adult apology, he has the unmitigated audacity to aggressively deflect the blame onto the school police officer who had to physically intervene to pull his violent niece off the victim. He actually stood there and complained about how the officer handled the aggressor, completely ignoring the fundamental reality that if his niece hadn't chosen to act like a violent criminal in a public space, the police would never have had to touch her in the first place. This is exactly where the generational rot starts and perpetuates itself. When you flat out refuse to hold your children accountable for violent, antisocial, and deeply destructive actions, you are not protecting them. You are actively breeding future felons who genuinely believe that the established laws of society simply do not apply to them. You are teaching them that they can commit violence, and as long as they complain loudly enough about how they were treated afterwards, they can miraculously become the victim. Judge Judy's absolute, uncompromising refusal to entertain this toxic garbage for even a single second is why she is a cultural icon. She didn't just judge the teenager for throwing the punch. She put Devonte Greer firmly and aggressively on trial for his catastrophic failure to provide basic moral guidance. She aggressively drew the hard, definitive line in the sand that he completely failed to draw at home, explicitly demonstrating to the millions of people watching that you cannot manipulate, gaslight, or scream your way out of objective, video-recorded reality. By defending the completely indefensible, this guardian proved exactly why this teenage girl felt so incredibly emboldened to execute this brazen, daylight ambush in the first place, completely confirming that the toxic, violent apple truly does not fall far from the deeply delusional tree. As we continue to dissect the absolute moral decay and the deep psychological toxicity surrounding this specific incident, we have to urgently turn our critical attention to the devastating role of the digital audience, the silent but incredibly active participants who stood by and enabled this nightmare to unfold. I want to talk specifically about the students forming that chaotic circle in the bus lane, the individuals who made the conscious, deeply chilling, and completely sociopathic decision to pull out their high-definition smartphones and hit record instead of intervening, yelling for an adult, or immediately calling for help. This is a terrifying mutation of the well-documented psychological phenomenon known as the bystander effect, but in our heavily connected modern digital age, it has rapidly devolved into something far more sinister: the active, calculated commodification of human suffering for digital currency. When a crowd forms around an act of brutal violence today, the individual sense of moral responsibility becomes completely diluted, evaporating instantly into the aggressive group mentality. Everyone assumes someone else will step in, or far worse, they become so completely mesmerized by the violent, real-world spectacle that their basic, fundamental human empathy completely short-circuits. But these teenage bystanders didn't just passively watch from a safe distance, they became active, willing participants the exact moment they decided to frame the brutal assault through the glowing lenses of their phone cameras. By actively filming the unprovoked attack, they validated the aggressor's violent actions in real time. They provided the exact captive audience, the digital currency, the viral likes, the shares, and the social media clout that this bully was so desperately and pathetically craving. They successfully and maliciously transformed a localized, physical schoolyard assault into a permanent, inescapable digital public execution. The profound psychological impact this has on the victim, Marley, is practically immeasurable and completely devastating. It is one horrifying thing to be physically beaten and humiliated in front of your peers. It is an entirely different, apocalyptic level of psychological torture to know that the absolute worst, most degrading, and terrifying moment of your young life is permanently etched into the digital fabric of the internet, accessible to anyone anywhere, at any time, for the rest of human history. Every single time that video is shared in a school group chat, every time it is laughed at in a locker room or commented on by strangers online, Marley is essentially assaulted all over again. The trauma becomes a looping, inescapable digital nightmare that she cannot simply delete or run away from. And what happens when these specific bystanders go home to their comfortable bedrooms? Do they feel genuine remorse? Do they immediately delete the video out of guilt? No, they aggressively upload it, they tag their friends, they create cruel memes, and they laugh at the victim's pain. This is a profound, terrifying, systemic failure of basic empathy in our modern youth, and it highlights a deeply broken culture that actively rewards cruelty with attention and severely punishes vulnerability with viral humiliation. This brings us directly to a massively important, overarching question that hovers like a dark, heavy storm cloud over the entirety of this televised courtroom proceeding. Why in the world did this specific incident have to escalate to the extreme point of a televised legal battle in front of Judge Judy in the first place? The answer to that question is a terrifying, multi-layered indictment of our modern educational and societal institutions. This case ended up in a civil courtroom because absolutely every single societal safety net that is theoretically supposed to protect our children completely and utterly failed this 15-year-old victim. The guardian of the aggressor, Devonnie Greer, as we have already exhaustively discussed, catastrophically failed in his fundamental duty to raise an empathetic, law-abiding citizen, consciously choosing instead to be a blind, arrogant enabler of violence. But the catastrophic failure extends far beyond the walls of his living room. Where exactly was the school administration's preventative action in all of this? We heard in the testimony that there was a prior, minor altercation in a classroom that was supposedly handled by an administrator just moments before. Yet, the aggressor was still allowed to freely walk out to the massive, chaotic bus lane with clear, uninterrupted access to the very girl she was just arguing with. When violent bullies are allowed to successfully orchestrate a coordinated ambush at a school, sanctioned bus stop immediately following an administrative intervention, it exposes a massive gaping, dangerous hole in the disciplinary infrastructure of the educational system. Too often in today's climate, schools are absolutely terrified of bad public relations, the threat of lawsuits from angry, entitled parents, or a drop in their community standing, so they desperately attempt to sweep these violent incidents under the rug with pathetic, entirely meaningless penalties. They treat premeditated physical assault like a minor dress code violation, sending a crystal clear, incredibly dangerous message to the aggressors that they can act with near total impunity. This systematic minimization of severe peer-to-peer violence leaves the traumatized victims and their desperately protective families feeling entirely abandoned, isolated, and betrayed by the very educational institutions that are legally mandated to keep their children safe during the day. This systemic betrayal is exactly why the civil courtroom ultimately becomes the brutal battleground of absolute last resort. When the schools completely fail to discipline, when the parents are completely drowning in their own delusional realities, and when the community turns a blind, cowardly eye to the suffering of a defenseless child, the legal system is forced to aggressively step in and draw the hard, uncompromising, definitive lines that no one else has the basic courage to draw. Judge Judy essentially operates as the ultimate, unyielding backstop against this creeping societal anarchy, actively representing the collective moral outrage of a civilized society that is completely sick and tired of watching the innocent suffer. When we look closely at the broader, terrifying societal implications of this brutal school bus ambush, we are forced to violently confront a massive, deeply uncomfortable truth about the total loss of innocence and the complete erosion of accountability in our modern youth. We are currently witnessing an absolute epidemic where the digital lens of a smartphone completely overrides basic, fundamental human empathy, and where physical violence is viewed as a legitimate, acceptable tool for social dominance. The 14-year-old who meticulously orchestrated this violent attack, and the kids who stood by and actively filmed it, have been heavily conditioned by a highly toxic, unregulated online culture to view human suffering as nothing more than disposable content. They have completely, dangerously detached the physical, visceral act of violence from the devastating emotional, legal, and psychological consequences of that violence. This is precisely where the stark, uncompromising environment of Judge Judy's courtroom becomes so incredibly vital. Judge Judy recognizes this terrifying detachment immediately when these individuals walk into her courtroom. She inherently understands that when you are dealing with a generation of teenagers who cannot conceptually grasp the fundamental difference between a harmless viral internet prank and a felony-level aggravated assault, and when you are dealing with guardians who actively encourage this delusion, the only language they will ever truly understand is the cold, hard, unforgivable hammer of the legal justice system. She is not just trying to teach them a fleeting moral lesson or force a fake apology. She is desperately trying to reprogram their fundamentally broken moral compasses before they permanently graduate from schoolyard ambushes to adult penitentiaries. By bringing the full, uncompromising weight of civil liability and public humiliation crashing down on their heads, she is aggressively drawing the hard, definitive boundary lines that their incompetent guardians and terrified school administrators completely failed to establish. Her courtroom is completely immune to the pathetic excuses, the fake, manufactured tears, and the manipulative, carefully rehearsed lies that might work perfectly well in a gullible principal's office or at the family dinner table. She forces these young aggressors and their equally culpable enabling guardians to stare directly and uncomfortably into the devastating, long-term consequences of their actions, utilizing her platform to deliver a searing reality check that the educational system was too afraid to administer. And this brings us directly into the massive, undeniable importance of the financial and legal reality check that Judge Judy consistently delivers with such surgical precision. You see, when a judge formally awards significant financial damages in a civil case of severe bullying and physical assault, it is never just about cleanly reimbursing a traumatized family for their out-of-pocket medical expenses, therapy bills, or replacing a ripped jacket. It is a highly calculated, aggressive, and entirely necessary punitive measure specifically designed to inflict a very specific type of pain that completely delusional, enabling adults like Devonte Greer will actually understand and respect severe financial pain. When you hit an arrogant, dismissive excuse-making guardian directly in their bank account, the delusional fog suddenly and violently lifts. The pathetic excuses about the school police officer being too rough immediately stop dead in their tracks, when they are suddenly legally forced by the state to write a massive, agonizing check to the victim's family simply because their precious, perfect family member decided to viciously ambush a defenseless classmate for cheap social media views. The brutal, undeniable reality of their catastrophic parental failure finally sets in. Judge Judy brilliantly utilizes financial restitution as a blunt, forced psychological weapon to forcefully enforce accountability where absolutely none previously existed. She makes the guardians literally, tangibly pay for their willful ignorance, their toxic enabling, and their failure to raise a decent human being. This severe financial sting is very often the absolutely only thing that forces these highly toxic family units to actually sit down at the kitchen table and have a serious, uncomfortable, life-altering conversation about real-world consequences strictly because the legal system has officially put a massive, unignorable price tag on their child's violent behavior. By hitting them in the wallet, Judge Judy is ensuring that the painful lesson of this ambush is not easily forgotten the moment they walk out of the courtroom doors, but rather serves as a constant, lingering reminder that in the real world, reckless violence carries a very heavy, unavoidable cost. As we finally begin to wrap up this massive, exhaustive psychological breakdown of one of the most infuriating courtroom cases we have ever witnessed, I want to take a very specific, quiet, and highly intentional moment to directly address the young victim of this horrific ambush, 15-year-old Marley, and frankly, to address any single person out there listening to my voice right now who has ever miraculously survived a similar nightmare of intense bullying and severe public humiliation. What you endured at that bus stop was completely unjust, it was violently unfair, and it represents a catastrophic, systemic failure of the entire adult community that was explicitly supposed to protect you during those vulnerable school hours. But I need you to truly understand the absolute, raw courage it takes to walk into a highly public, internationally televised courtroom, to sit just a few feet away from your violent abuser and their glaring, hostile, unapologetic guardian, and to definitively, unblinkingly speak your unvarnished truth on national television. That is an act of unimaginable, breathtaking bravery that most adults do not even possess. By absolutely refusing to stay silent, by refusing to be intimidated by Devontae Greer's loud, toxic deflections, and by actively taking this deep trauma to a court of law, Marley did something incredibly powerful and permanent. She actively and aggressively reclaimed the narrative of her own life. She took the terrifying, permanent victimhood script that the bullies had violently tried to write for her in that chaotic bus lane, and she tore it to absolute shreds in front of an uncompromising judge and millions of viewers. She proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is not just a passive, broken victim permanently trapped in a viral internet video. She is a deeply resilient survivor demanding objective, uncompromising justice. Healing from this specific type of deep, public, and highly documented digital trauma is absolutely not a straight, easy line. It is a brutal, exhausting, lifelong marathon filled with unpredictable triggers and hard days. But taking the absolute power back in a court of law, forcing the truth into the blinding light of day, is the ultimate, definitive, and most important first step toward completely rebuilding a shattered life and permanently restoring personal dignity. This specific case has been an absolutely exhausting, deeply emotional roller coaster from start to finish, completely testing our faith in the modern educational system and parental responsibility. But it is exactly the type of raw, unfiltered, completely necessary reality check that our modern society desperately needs to deeply dissect and truly understand if we ever want things to change. We have spent the last hour meticulously breaking down the intricate, dark psychology of manufactured control, the paralyzing element of fear, and the catastrophic crossing of moral lines by both the teenager and her entirely delusional guardian. But now, as we close out this massive deep dive, it is finally officially your turn to speak up and take control of this conversation. I want you to absolutely flood the comment section down below right now. Tell me your personal, unfiltered, honest stories about surviving the brutal reality of high school bullies. Tell me exactly how your local schools miserably failed or actually succeeded in protecting you when you needed them the most. And most importantly, I want to know exactly what you think should legally happen to enabling guardians like Devontae Greer who actively defend and justify violent juvenile delinquency. Do you believe there should be mandatory, uncompromising criminal charges or even jail time for the parents and guardians of violent bullies who orchestrate these premeditated ambushes? Let your powerful, undeniable voice be heard right now in the comments below. I am going to be spending hours poring over your responses, reading, liking, and heavily replying to your incredible, thought-provoking insights and personal experiences. If you genuinely appreciate these massive, incredibly detailed psychological breakdowns of the most intense, blood-boiling courtroom drama on television, if you actively want to keep looking far past the surface narrative to truly understand the dark truth of human behavior, you absolutely must smash that like button and heavily subscribe to Savage Justice right now. We are actively building a massive, unstoppable, fiercely intelligent community of truth seekers here, and we desperately want you to be a permanent vocal part of it. Thank you so incredibly much for sticking with me through this entire, exhausting, but completely necessary journey into the depths of courtroom psychology. Protect your peace of mind, fiercely stand up for the vulnerable, always speak the absolute, uncompromising truth no matter how unpopular it might be. And until next time, stay savage and stay incredibly safe out there.